Hi, I am Kaye England with Wilmington Prints, and in this project play video, we are so excited to share with you a simple large throw quilt that utilizes nothing but squares and some flying geese units working with our 5 and 10-inch packs. Let's start mining those diamonds. Well, now let's take a look at this diamond cut quilt, and let me tell you that for those of you especially who have not made a lot of quilts, and maybe you look at this and go, I don't know, it looks like triangles and it's a little confusing. Let's break down how this is built. And what we're looking at, this quilt is a 64 by 80, so it's a great size for like a twin bed or a sofa throw or something like that. We're again working with our 5 and our 10-inch gems, which will yield all of the elements that we need for this. Then we start playing with the silver, which is kind of a gray. It's between a gray and a cream, probably. That's really a fabulous piece of 5-inch squares. The company writes very traditional because we can't assume that you, the viewer, has the elements. Like I like to work with specialty rulers, let's say, or you have special cutting equipment. You will have to be able to convert that, because the company's job is to make sure that every viewer can do this without having owned a batch of special things. When you open your pre-cut packs, and first of all, they're yummy. It's just like playing with M&Ms or lifesavers. So let's take a look at the elements you're going to be working with to execute this project. Your fabric A is saying take your 10-inch squares, cut them down to a 9 1/4, and then you will cut them in half diagonally twice to yield 4 quarter square triangles. Anytime you cut a square and you cross cut it twice, you have made a quarter square triangle, which has the straight of grain on that long leg, and it's like the goose in a flying geese element. So it's that one triangle that can be tricky to play with. So be real careful when you're cutting, and especially if you feel the need to run to the iron at any point. Once you have cut those triangles and you put any heat on that, you can warp those corners real easy, so be real careful. We'd also ask you to take your 10-inch squares and cut some of them down to 8 1/2. So as you look at the quilt behind me, I'm sure you're going to be able to go, I see where those 8 1/2-inch squares, that's the large element. And then where you see the small 4 1/2-inch squares, that's the little 4-patch element that's created in the back. And then obviously you'll also be able to see the dry brush silver would be the cream in that photograph. Once you have cut all of these, then I say get your stacks ready and then start following your project sheet instructions. And one of the things that I have learned in as many of these as I have made, build all of them and then put them on the table, then go to the wall. Because if you start building one, put it up on the wall, and then try to figure out how to build the other one and make it fit next to the first one, you can drive yourself crazy. If you make them all and just be a little diverse when you put the colors around, try to make some that look this way and some that look that way. I looked at the project sheet cover and I love the way it's done. Mine does not match that. And I would expect that if you were making this, you're gonna make it what appeals to you. So you might like a set dark around one of the mediums. I just say go with it. And when you finish, you may have to do a little playing on the wall. Oh, those are touching the same fabric. Oh dear, I just pick up another patch, put it across. So the way the project is built is 4 blocks running east and west, and then 5 rows running north and south. So you're making a total of 20 blocks. With the amount of fabric you have, you do not have waste on the cutting the squares and cross-cutting. So be real careful when you make your cuts. I'm not gonna sew on camera, and I'm really not going to do the exact cutting on camera, but in case you are fairly new to this, I'm gonna just give you a couple of tips on what I would recommend that you do. Once you open your packs, all of your 5s and 10s are pinked around the outside edge. See how they have the little pinking shear around the outside edge? So you'll be trimming down, and when it asks you to trim a 5, see, there's my 5-inch square. It's going to ask me to trim them down to 4.5. So you've got a couple of choices. You can just lay my 4.5 like this and boom, boom. However it seems to be the easiest for you. Then on your silver, I'm going to do it on this one. It's going to ask you to cut it down to a 4 7/8, allowing for the extra space in 2 triangles. Then it's going to ask you to cross cut that on the diagonal. This is a good point to remind you. If you own any square ruler, it has got a diagonal line that runs down it. That's what helps you position it to cut a perfect triangle. So I'm not going to just try to guess where that is. I'm just going to take this line that runs through there, position it point to point, make a cut. Now I have my perfect 4 7/8 inch triangles, which are what I build on the side to make my flying geese units. That's as much cutting we're going to do, because honestly, everything is cutting it in half once, or in a couple of cases, cutting it in half twice. That is as complicated as this cutting goes. I'd like, when you're building your flying geese units, I think it's really important you've cross-cut everything. You have your silver ready for your half square triangles, and you have your print ready from your packets. Let's walk through how I would build this. I would first take one of my print quarter square triangles, and I would sew one corner of the silver on it. Now I turned that over to show you that this is one of those times that I would press this seam open. I am not a fan normally of pressing open, but because you're going to have a lot of stuff coming together, it will make your life easier when you start joining all of these elements if you've pressed this open. Then we'll come back and we will put the second one on, and then we will press that open, and we will have our flying geese unit built. You're going to build 80 of these. So I would just say work through those. Try to finger press or use a little tool or something as opposed to going to the iron. Because when you put the first half square on the quarter square, if you hit that with the iron and you mess up the other side, you're going to struggle a little bit getting that second one added. So just be patient about that. You can see that I have in this, I'm showing you the reverse side of 4 of my squares, my 4.5 inch print squares, the large center square, and 4 of the flying geese elements we just made. That's all you have to do. There's your recipe. So let's go in real close, and you can see that on all of my flying geese units, I have pressed open. But you can see then when I come to this one, I have pressed the weight this way. Then on that corner, I have to take the weight out, because that will help me align all of these that I have pressed open. Now, this isn't a law or even a rule. It's just a smart way to think about when you build this. Remember that it is going to sister up to its neighbor, and whatever you do here, if you build them all this way, you can rotate and you will be able to have them all nest in. If push comes to shove and you don't luck out, because I don't always either, then all you're going to have to do is force one to go the opposite way. In a project like this, I don't feel like that's the end of the world, but I know sometimes when you do force weight to go opposing, you get a little lump or something. So I would encourage you to take your time when you're building these blocks. You can then do some organizing of which color you like the best. Looking at this graphic, I want you to see what I'm talking about. When these two come together right here, I have taken one this way, that seam, that's an outside seam, and then when this one goes over this way, those two will nest. I mean, I don't want to minimize the value of a project like this because I think it's fabulous, but I also think when you have this many points coming together, it's not going to be the end of the world if one of those points isn't as clean as you'd like it to be. I worry about that on certain quilts, but when I'm making what I call project quilts, fun quilts, you want to give them to people you care about, you want them to play with them, you want them to be able to throw them in the washer and all of that. So cut yourself a little slack if it does end up and you're like, oh dear, I missed a point. I think it's important to strive to get good work, but I don't think it's worth getting yourself worked up if it isn't. I'll show you now what mine looks like when I had it on the wall. I had organized this, and as you can see, as you look at this and walk down, where row 1 meets row 2, I sort of get that little 4-patch in the middle, and it looks like I've done a lot more work than I actually have, because all I've really done is put all those blocks together in rows, and they create a secondary design by doing that. There isn't a border on this or anything. Now let's say you have a child or a person you want to give this to, and you go, gosh, I wish that was a little bit larger. You can always buy another pack. You can always add more of any of these colors for your borders and add borders to it if you choose to. So that's always a personal decision, but I think it's a fun project to do, and somehow it does look a little bit like a lot of diamonds, doesn't it? Have a good time building your diamond cut project, and I'd love to see those. We love it when you post on our page and show what you've created. So have a great time, and we'll see you on another video. Bye-bye.